Guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're back at looking at the guides advice of that one pickup artist website that I talked about the other day. If you didn't see that video, I'll link it down below. It gives you a little bit of context as to what's going on that website. Yikes. And the reason I'm talking about them again, apart from them having weird, outdated, silly beliefs about dating and women generally, I happened to look at their YouTube channel, and frankly, the videos are too much for me. I just feel like punching the screen of my computer and I don't want to break it, so I prefer sticking to the articles. But I did watch a couple of minutes from this video, and frankly, I was just stunned at how outdated their thinking is. And I already thought they were like in the 1800s, but maybe we're like 1300s type thinking. Just surreal. Like the concept that women can't have guy friends without something happening. Like, yes, there are plenty of times in friendships when someone falls for the other person, but I'm not gonna get started. They also, again, forget that bi women exist, because if you go with that thinking that something could happen with a guy best friend, something could happen with a girl best friend too. So before you get into that, I did want to thank today's sponsor, which is Handy. Handy is the easiest and most convenient way to connect individuals with independent service professionals who provide home cleaning and handyman services. Click my link in the description to get your first 3-hour cleaning for only $39 when you sign up for a cleaning plan. Terms apply. I personally always feel better when my living space is clean. I find it easier for me to be productive, and usually I'm in an overall better mood. Handy was extremely easy to use and convenient, as it takes barely a minute to book an appointment with a professional. The quality of service was fantastic and safe, as everyone is background checked and rated by customers. You can learn more about that at handy.com/trust and safety. Remember, click the link in my description to get your first 3-hour cleaning for only $39 when you sign up for a cleaning plan. Terms apply. So I found another article, and this one is titled, "Should You Flake on Her First?" Well, there are 5 pros and 3 cons. And this one is by a guy called Chase. We're done with Colt. We've moved on to Chase. I feel like all these names perfectly sum up what I would expect someone with that name to think. Not that every Chase is bad, but it doesn't surprise me that a Chase thinks this way. So as usual, this article is the length of the fucking Odyssey. It's always a journey. It feels like you're never gonna come back from. So I'm not gonna read the whole article, mainly because it's a flaming garbage fire, so you're not learning anything, but also because I don't know how you can ramble on like this without making any valid points. There's an old flake reduction tactic I first learned about 14 years ago. The tactic is simple. You flake on her first. This guy who told me about it mentioned he'd flaked first on his last 6 dates. Then he rescheduled his meets with them. Each of the 6 jumped into bed with him on date number 1. None of his dates flaked on him back. He was still testing it out, he said, and couldn't confirm it was always a reliable technique, but the early signs looked promising. I filed that away mentally as an interesting anecdote, but not something I was bold enough to try at the time. At the time, I was only just starting out. I still needed to worry about getting dates in the first place. I was not in a place to start flaking on these dates. 1.5 years and a fair bit of romantic progress later, I had a date with a very attractive girl. However, I also had a lot of things going on, and I forgot the date. I was at a trendy upscale nightclub with a friend, and in the midst of talking to new girls, forgot I had one I was supposed to meet up with that night already. Well, my date messaged, I saw the message, realized I'd forgotten the date, and told her I wasn't coming. Then she called. I had to awkwardly apologize and tell her I'd forgotten. I promised my friend we'd hang out. "So you're not coming?" she asked again. "Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't tonight," I said. "Okay," she said. I apologized again and hung up. I felt really bad. Next day, I texted her, apologized again, and offered to reschedule. She accepted. A few days later, I met up with her. She was more or less ready to go when I arrived. We had a few drinks at the bar. She was super flirtatious, then I pulled her. 2 hours into the date, I shagged her. We went a few rounds, and she was super sweet to me after. I was surprised how it played out, to say the least. I thought she'd want nothing to do with me after I forgot our date, I thought. Then I remembered that instructor's experiments 1.5 years earlier. Flake on her first had worked for me just as it had for him, and I definitely wasn't advanced at that point yet either. Maybe it wasn't such a challenging tactic to pull off after all. Shit like this makes me irate. Mainly because I've seen this happen to my friends. Now, as you guys may know, I never dated, so this didn't happen to me because I didn't have dates to be flaked on. But I've seen this happen to my friends, and every fucking time, it's stupid. It never is productive, because these are stupid ass childish mind games. Whether it's a man or a woman doing it does not matter, really truly. Who gives a shit? But it's more about like the silly things of, if someone takes an hour to text you back, you're gonna take 2 hours to text them back. And it's like, are we 5? Like, are we really going to go with the flake on them? Like, you're gonna whole ass waste someone's time. I think the funniest thing to me though, personally, is that if a girl flaked on him, they would invent this whole narrative of why she's wrong, and the flaking shows that she's a bad woman and her woman card would be revoked or something. It just seems seems hypocritical, but aside from that, it's so childish. And the thing is, it's also taking advantage of people, because if someone is nice enough to give you a second chance, which frankly, you didn't deserve the first one, but anyway, if they're nice enough to give you a second chance, it shouldn't be for you to manipulate them and, you know, in order to get sex out of them and then feel like you again won something. Like, the running theme with women here is that they're a competition, they're conquered, and that's not the case at all. Okay, so let's skip to the 5 pros of flaking on her first. A lot of good things can happen when you flake on a woman before she has the chance to flake on you. That doesn't necessarily mean they will. Nevertheless, here are the 5 biggest positive outcomes that can occur when you flake first. I'm just gonna say one quick thing here. When Jacob and I started dating, he was working at a job at a restaurant that had like really long hours, and a lot of the times people would ask him to take his shifts, or they'd like push their shifts onto him without really telling him. And I remember the time we were supposed to go on our first date, he had to reschedule because someone had not come to work, so he had to take their shift. It wasn't anything to do with me, but I remember feeling uncertain because I was like, you know, there's always the paranoia of like, are they doing it to avoid me or do they really have work? He obviously really had work. But when you flake on someone, trust that they're gonna be uncertain about your intentions, which is a pretty shitty thing to do on purpose to someone. But anyway, she can get way more attracted. The obvious subcommunication when you flake first is you need me more than I need you. You know this, you felt it every time a woman flaked on you, unless you're very experienced. Even once you're highly experienced, it's hard not to feel it a bit. At more normal or lower level of experience, it's impossible to avoid feeling it to some not insignificant degree. How do people respond to feeling like the other party needs them less than they need the other party? By chasing. Humans chase after desirable things that seem slightly out of reach. When you flake first, you put yourself in that slightly out of reach spot. She doesn't know exactly why you're flaking. Sure, you gave her a reason, but is it the whole reason? Is it even a real reason and not BS? The very fact you're not desperate to meet up seems to imply you at least have other options with women. Thus, you are pre-selected by default and thus more attractive to her. Not to mention the fact that scarcity makes things more attractive, and flaking first injects immediate scarcity into the courtship. Not only that, but... And then we go to point 2. I cannot tell you how absolutely fucking wrong I think you are. Now, obviously, I don't speak for every woman on the planet. Some women may like this. Don't know any, but some women might. The majority of the friends I have are women, and I cannot name one single person who would be here for this. Like, a lot of people I know wouldn't even give you a second chance because wasting someone's time in this day and age shouldn't be tolerated. It's not tolerable. It's like, if you don't respect me enough to think my time is valuable, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Also, I don't know if you guys are getting this vibe too, but it just feels like the writer of this article got flaked on so much that he's turned it into like personal vendettas with other women, because frankly, maybe I've just been fortunate in my life. The only times I've ever had to reschedule things, whether it's friends or with Jacob when we first started dating, it's always for a valid reason, you know, like work, but it's never just been like, oh, I can't come. Like, if you do that, you're a shitty person, I'm sorry. And to be noted, I'm not factoring in here mental health reasons, because there are times when you're depressed and you can't get out of bed and last minute you flake. That's a different story. And I don't even really count that as flaking. You become more urgent to her. When you're attractive yet scarce, she's going to feel she's only got a limited window of opportunity to get you. She knows she only has a short time to interest you, attract you, and seduce you, and if she can't accomplish that in time, who knows if you'll ever show up for another date. You've already shown her you're willing to not show up on a date. So if things don't go well when she finally does get you out, what'll happen next time? Even if she's a strong-willed woman, even if she's a long-time player of the game, this instant urgency is going to make her more compliant, and compliance is one of the big 3 keys to getting a woman you want into bed or a relationship. This makes things generally easier for you on the date. It makes the courtship with her more straightforward. I don't know how to say this in a way that's not really mean. You're not the only man in existence, and she's probably not that desperately in love with you that the idea of not being with you is going to devastate her, especially if it's a first date, unless there's been some kind of long thing going on. She probably doesn't even know you or anything about you. So this insta urgency you're thinking of, like, I really think you might think a little bit too highly of yourself, because if I couldn't attend a date and I told them day of I had a work thing come up, do I think they'd be devastated and they'd never get over it and they'd start freaking out about how they're gonna impress and seduce me? No, because that's low-key, I think, not stable thinking. You really need to think that you are a gift to the world to think that a woman's sense of herself, her value is all going to be shot because you didn't show up to your little date. And also, this thing about compliance has me fucked up, because the idea is that you want to send someone into almost like an emergency state where they're so freaked out that they're going to lose you, that they're going to do anything to seduce you. And therefore, it's like their judgment is impaired because they're so freaked out that they're going to lose you. And that's why you're mentioning compliance. Compliance is a very strange term to use when you're talking about a relationship, because you want relationships to be on equal ground. And here you're talking about manipulating the ground, so you're automatically the one that has to be seduced. When the reality is, like, you should be seducing each other, wooing each other, whatever the fuck it is. Like, it shouldn't be this thing where someone's like afraid and goes into panic. Like, that's really scary that you want that. And to be noted, of course, everyone wants to feel wanted, but you can feel wanted without putting someone in that kind of negative headspace. I'm gonna skip a couple points because, like I said, it goes on forever. So number 4 of pros of flaking, it's not a boyfriend negotiation. A good boyfriend candidate would never flake on her. So what's it mean if you do? You're not a boyfriend candidate. Simple as that. This is the part for the horniness spike you will tend to experience with women you flaked on first. You've ruled yourself out as a boyfriend, and they're no longer trying to stifle their sexuality and seem like sweet, demure girlfriend candidates anymore. I don't understand why it wouldn't just be easier to be straight up with someone and be like, hey, I'm not looking for a relationship, I'm looking for a hookup buddy. If they're okay with that, then you can just proceed with the hooking up. Like, I don't understand why it has to be this big thing of unspoken clues that people need to gather in order to get to the point. Like, this is why communication is so central in any type of relationship, whether it's friendship, romantic relationships, whatever. If you don't communicate and play these stupid games, you're expecting her to read your mind, and that's not healthy because that's not her job. That is why you have a functioning mouth that can say what you're thinking, so then we don't have to go through all this stupid shit. My God, if I ever dated someone like this. And then the next pro is that first date sex is highly likely. I don't think we really need to analyze that. Now let's go into the 3 cons and let's see if there's a minimum of brain cells here or if we're just gonna keep losing them. The 3 cons of flaking first. It's not all positives though. Flaking first can sometimes backfire. You don't fucking say. There are 3 major potential cons you may run into with the flake first technique. They are: 1, on the fence girls may not bother. 2, some women will auto reject. 3, you may have attainability issues. Exactly what every single woman should do. Leave your ass behind, because truly nobody should be put through this amount of stupid shit over a first date. Like, truly, relationships can have their own complications in time. Nobody needs to be going out trying to make things more subtextual or more complicated. I just don't understand why you can't just go on Tinder, put in your bio that you're only interested in hookups, and boom, done. If you fail to qualify a girl enough, or she has low self-esteem, or she's had bad experiences with men behaving in dismissive ways towards her, flaking on her may be enough to send her into auto rejection. That is, if she gets your flake text and says to herself, gasp, another asshole, no way, screw this jerk, I want nothing to do with him. Then when you text to reschedule, she thinks you're just jerking her around, which you are, playing games with her, which you are, and won't respond. Or if she responds, she'll be ice cold and won't reschedule with you. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell if the girls who don't respond to flake on her first don't respond because they were on the fence and just don't want to bother with the effort to reschedule with you, or if it's because they auto-rejected when you flake. My recommendation, do your best to come across as a warm person and make sure you qualify her, and you'll usually not have this issue. However, if you still feel like a woman is insecure around you even after you're warm and qualify her properly, then don't flake on her. Just meet up with her as planned and be warm yet sexy. I hate all of this because you're really banking on someone's insecurity and esteem, because any normal person, when they're flaked on, has a tiny bit of that lingering thought of, oh God, like, did they see something about me that they didn't like? Did I say something wrong? And it's really a horrible feeling because, especially as an overthinker, you're going to analyze the shit out of things trying to get an answer as to what went wrong, kind of thing. So I don't support it at all. I've always thought that I would rather someone straight up tell me, hey, you know, like, I don't think we mesh, move on, whatever. It'll hurt, sure, but at least you're not there asking yourself questions. It gives you a tiny sense of closure. I just feel like a lot of this is vindictive towards women. I don't say that lightly, but the more I read on this website, the more it seems like the men who are writing these columns, first of all, don't seem to ever have interacted with human women, but okay. But aside from that, it just seems like they've all internalized like 1 or 2 negative experiences and decided that every woman's a flake, every woman, you know, wants a relationship, every woman is straight or lesbian, there's no in between, you know, like, so it just doesn't make sense to me, and it just seems almost surreal. Towards the end of the article, they even have how to flake on a woman first, and I find this so entirely childish, to the point where they'll like tell you how to message them to flake and how to message them to reschedule, and I'm like, you're really going through all these steps just so you think you can have sex on the first date and so you have a position of power? Like, how disgusting is that? I frankly can't stand this type of behavior. It makes me really mad because I think it's so just childish and a waste of time and stupid and inappropriate and a bunch of other words I'm not gonna say. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think this is childish and a waste of time? Do you also believe in straightforward communication between adults? Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get right into the fan art.